People who went to the hospital for having something stuck up your butt. What is your story? Isn't there a coffee table book of ass x-rays? Yes. Reminds me of Scrubs where they interviewed a few characters who shoved stuff up their butt. The excuses were typically I fell on it until this one dude nonchalantly said I was bored while shrugging. I'm an nurse. And I've assisted with removing a lot of things from butts over the years. But to their credit each patient was straightforward about how things got there. The most memorable for me was a guy who had a shaving cream lid stuck, which implies that the whole can was up there at some point. He came with his girlfriend. And apparently his mom showed up to the ER. So as we were rolling him into the OR he pulled me down and said, listen. Obviously my girlfriend knows what's going on. But please don't tell my mom. I relayed this to the surgeon. And later in the day asked him what he told the family. He said he told them the dude had an intestinal blockage and he cleared it. Because technically correct is the best kind of correct. Pro tip from someone who worked in the ER. We respected people who admitted they stuck it up their ass but would always laugh at those who said they fell on it and exchange stories during breaks. This probably doesn't meet your expectation for a stuck up your butt story. But when I was 10, me and a friend were playing seesaw on a large piece of unfinished lumber. We decided it would be fun to jump onto one side from a low-hanging tree limb, which would subsequently launch the other person into outer space. When it was my turn to be launched, I slipped. And instead of flying off, I got thwopped in the nuts and 6 inches of a splinter up my ass. Worst emergency room visit ever. First true story of someone slipping and ending up with things in their ass. Congratulations. I've heard a lot of these stories working for years in ER. The worst is about a guy that managed to put inside his ass a pretty big frozen fish. Head first. So that a few hours later the fish defrosted and all the spines started to get stuck in the guy's rectum and it was impossible to remove it. So he had to get operated on. Yikes. Another one is about a guy who was playing with a little ceramic virgin statue and somehow it got too deep and came asking for help to remove it. But he never admitted that. His story was that he tripped and fell with the ass on floor and it got inside accidentally. Edit update. The guy didn't have to pay anything. Because this happened in Spain and we have 100% free healthcare. He showed up in ER only after the fish defrosted. It seems he was happy at home with his buttfish. And the pain and trouble appeared when he realized he wasn't able to pull it out. Virgin statue. Not anymore. My story isn't so much about something stuck up my butt so much as it is about a stuck butt. I was born with a condition called imperforate anus. Basically it means my butthole never developed. So technically I was born without a butthole. I like to joke and say that I was born not giving a shit. The way doctors fixed this for me was they ripped me a new one. Lol. They performed a colostomy on the left side of my waist so I can expel waste. I know what you're thinking. That's not where a butthole goes. I agree. Seems like a cruel prank but I digress. After about a year, they reroute the opening they made with the colostomy to where it should have naturally formed. TLDR. I have a man-made asshole. MMA for short. My grandmother once worked in medical records and she told me about a file she read through mentioned a guy who came to the hospital with a tennis ball stuck up his ass. The guy's comment on how it got there was he fell on it. I've done anesthesia for about 15 years and have seen lots of these things come to the table. People almost always come in really late at night. They wait too long to come and sometimes just come in and be honest. I've had people refuse to tell us what it is we are going in after. Perry Ellis 360 red cologne bottle. I'm looking at you. I'm not judging you. I just want to know what we are going after because it matters how we try to grasp it. Advice. Don't make your own SX toys. I've seen flashlights with golf balls taped to them. I've seen soda bottles. They make lots of things for this exact purpose. Many of them have handles or loops for extraction. Always have a plan for extraction. And don't ever push it all the way in thinking you can get it out. And if you come to us for help, don't tell me you were vacuuming naked and slipped on an orange and fell on the pepper shaker. That isn't how anuses work. Yes, this happened. Took care of a dude who did some Valentine stuff with his wife. Double-sided DLDO. Perforated his colon. Overheard him telling the boys that visited him, "IDK, I was taking a shitty and I just got this really bad stabbing pain that wouldn't go away." Full stop. Never tell the boys the truth. Bro code violation number 69. Used to work for a general surgeon who once had an old man come in with a large Hillshire Farms summer sausage stuck inside himself. He had tried to pass it on his own, but it was starting to decay inside his rectum. They had to surgically remove it. And it started coming apart as they were trying to pull it out. A huge mess of a situation. Then there was a college girl who had a large green DLDO stuck past her sphincter, and the doctor had them wash it and return it to her after he got it out. Oh. And then the young dude that had literally sculpted a pool noodle to look moderately DCK like it broke off. The pathology report read oscillage yellow section of children's flotation device used for poolside entertainment. Apostrophe. I miss that job. I work in an ER. I've seen vibrators, doorknobs, vegetables, fruits, etc. shoved up SS. I work in and around operating rooms. Bicycle tire pump. Travel sized shampoo bottle. Whole light bulb, intact. Large Kong chew toy. 5th of Captain Morgan. Lost a bet. So I had to shove an eggplant in there and hold it in for 30 seconds. Long story short. 30 seconds turned into 9 hours and a bit of surgery. The worst part is, I still haven't gotten back my $20. I hooked up with a random girl after a night out at local dive bar. After a while of fooling around, she put an L beads in me. One by one, nice and slow. Taking them out was the opposite. She tried to start me like a pull start lawnmower. Breaking the string that connected the beads and leaving them up inside of me. I didn't have to go to the hospital, but instead let her dig at my ass for an hour until she was able to get them out. Most recent was a meat tenderizer. Not the handle. That was outside. They were like a meat popsicle. Not quite the same. But I once had a patient come in because he folded up a playing card and inserted it all the way into his urethra. Not me. But my mom used to work in the ER. A dude in his late 60s came in with a salt shaker in his butt. After they got it out, she found a pamphlet about the benefits of lowering your sodium intake and gave it to him. This is my type of question. I am an OR nurse and this young guy stuck not 1, not 2, but 3 apples up his ass. The surgeon was only able to remove parts of one through the rectum and he ended up needing a colostomy bag. Also had an elderly patient come in for surgery due to sticking salad tongs up her ass. She had closed the salad tongs and they were attached to a part of her colon that was hanging out of her anus. Luckily she didn't have any trauma and she went on her merry little way. My dad was an RN and he said that these happen more often than you think. Come on Bobby, let's go party. I didn't go because I had something stuck up there. But I ended up with a finger up there. They thought I had appendicitis and for some reason had to put a painkiller tablet up my bum. I was 14 and they rolled me on my side and my mom was sat right there watching me get fingered. It took them a few goes and at one point the doctor, I hope it was a doctor, no one checked, said I can't get it up there because you keep tensing, and I said I keep tensing because I don't want you getting your finger up there. Eventually they put it in and I could feel it dissolving and fizzing away. I asked how long it would take for the pain relief to kick in and he said about the same time as a normal painkiller, so I asked why didn't you just give me a normal painkiller then? And he just shrugged and walked off. I think he was a doctor. But we really should have checked. Worst dentist ever. One time I got a bunch of heroin stuck up my ass. This was back before I got sober. I was pretty nervous because of health reasons and because it wasn't my heroin. I eventually got the heroin out of my ass and 2 days later I was in rehab. Been sober ever since. 5 years. Heroin will make you do weird things. Like shove heroin up your asshole. Finally my time to shine. As a kid first discovering masturbation, I, a male, decided to try sticking things up my ass. It felt more like a massage and not as enjoyable as people made it out to be. Anyway, I decided to try sticking batteries up my ass because maybe it's like an L-beads. So there I was in a shower shoving double A's up my ass like the idiot I was. I did not think of how I would be getting them out. I decided I was done and decided to shti them out. Only 2 of the 5 came. I'm thinking oh shti, because my family would never let me live it down and many are religious. I decided I would rather die from internal battery acid before going to a hospital. So there I was in a shower trying to shti batteries like I'm a ducking Autobot freaking out. After much strain the last one barely came out. The relief is like nothing else and I will never stick another thing up my ass. DD. LR. I got batteries up my ass and they were not leaving. Could not let family know. I once knew a guy who knew someone who accidentally managed to get an L-beads wedged up in there and he had no idea how to get them out. I used to work for a GI practice. A couple months after I started working there, we were celebrating the birthday of one of the doctors who worked there. Someone had brought a cake with a weird design on it. It looked like a gumball machine. I asked if that was what it was. And my co-workers laughed and said no, it's a lava lamp. I said, oh, does he collect lava lamps? They all burst into laughter. And finally one co-worker explained that very recently when the doctor was on call at the hospital, he got a call about somebody who had a lava lamp stuck up his butt. They also gave him a lava lamp for his birthday. Sitting in the first aid station at a busy ski resort with a broken elbow, you hear many things. Largely uninteresting. But some good weird stuff too. As I sat there, feeling generally pretty sorry for myself, a man was brought in. Face down on a stretcher. Whimpering. Apparently he had fallen and ski patrol went after him. Well, ski patrol wasn't on form and they lost control, crashing into him. And one of their ski ice went straight up his ass. Shredded pants and a brutalized butthole. This was quickly overshadowed as a guy was brought in shortly afterwards who'd gotten his throat slashed by the edge of a ski. Nothing arterial. But it was a pretty gnarly sight. Realizing the red scarf his buddy had pressed to his neck wasn't red. I used to work for a doctor's office for multiple general surgeons who were on call for our local hospital. Every month I scanned at least 3 to 4 hospital notes into the system about people having things stuck in their anus colon. My favorite story was from the guy that claims he was cleaning his house while naked and accidentally sat on the handle of the Swiffer he was using. Other noteworthy items: a hard-boiled egg, an entire beer bottle, a bottle of vitamins, multiple instances of Sharpie's markers, a flathead screwdriver. This one became a serious issue as it traveled really far and perforated the patient's colon. A very large deli pickle. If you're into an L play, that's nothing to be embarrassed about. But for the love of God, please use toys that are specifically designed for the purpose and won't get lost. Avoid using anything without a flared base, including dildos designed for vaginal penetration that don't have something on the end to block you from clenching that sucker right past the sphincter of no return. My ex-wife worked as an OR nurse and she said that one night this guy came in with a glass sphere paperweight stuck up his butt. He had had it up there for days, so he needed emergency surgery to remove it. The wife requested to have the paperweight returned because it was a family heirloom. If it wasn't a family heirloom before, it certainly was after that. When I was a general surgery resident, I've taken out a lot of things stuck in people's rectums. Cucumber, corn on the cob, dildos of course, and Barbie dolls. Only one person just honestly said that he was doing it for pleasure. Everyone else said that they slipped and fell. Trust me, nobody believes that you are the one in a million that happened to run through a cornfield and then fall on a corn that then got stuck in your butt. Nobody. An X-ray tech that I knew told me that someone came in with a lot of blood coming out of his behind. He said that he was sledding down a hill and noticed there was a wheelbarrow at the bottom of the hill with the handles facing the uphill. Instead of rolling off the sled, he hiked his legs up over his head and went arsehole first onto the wheelbarrow handle. Poor guy made up arsehole and wheelbarrow's attack story instead of just admitting whatever he really did. And somehow he was sledding without pants on. Edit. Same guy also said someone shoved an entire softball into themselves. What a day to be able to read. I worked in the ER for 10 years and I have a lot of these. But my favorite was a rolled up newspaper with staples in it wrapped in duct tape. The staples ended up shredding his colon and he needed emergency surgery. But when the doc asked him what happened, he just sheepishly said he really likes the news. Got a feeling OP has to go to the ER and needs a good cover story. My Phil has worked in commercial construction for 40 years or so. He said that his crew was putting acoustical ceilings in a building and break time rolls around. He climbed off the end of the scaffold they were working on. His help turns around backwards, puts his hands on the scaffold and kind of vaults himself off the scaffold backwards. There was a piece of one conduit sticking out of the ground about 36-40 where the electricians hadn't cut it off. He landed on it. It went up his ass around 8-9 deep and they all ran over and helped pull him off of it. He almost died but somehow made it. They rushed him to emergency surgery and stitched his asshole back together. He literally got torn a new one. Edit. The scaffold Olay dude vaulted off of was 6 feet high. Lots of velocity to get penetrated in the rectal circuit by conduit.